To create a button, first create the look of your button. So a look could be a standard rectangle. It could be any shape that you wanted, any sort of artwork. It could also be text. So you need to create the look of a button. And I think I'll do a red button. And maybe inside of it, I will put some text. The first button we're doing is a play button, so I'm just going to call it play. Again, it can look like whatever you choose it to look like. There's no set look for a play button. So it could have letters. You could use a triangle, such as the controls for a video. Once you have the artwork created for your button, you select it, convert it to a symbol, and be sure you change the type from movie clip to button. Because we've been using movie clip, yours will probably default to that. Make sure you set it as a button and give it a name. Don't just leave the generic symbol name. Be specific so you can easily identify your buttons in your library. We're going to click OK. You see the button is now over here in the library. It's a play button. Now, while the button is selected, you need to name the button in properties. So if you look up here in properties where it says instance name, it shows that you have a button, but you must name it so that when we add the ActionScript code, it can automatically pick up the name. When you name a button, do not use any uppercase letters, only lowercase, and do not leave any spaces. If you need a space between words, put underscore. So that's my button name. It's a play button. I like to be specific, and I can move on now. Now I'm going to just hold it for say 20 seconds so that I can see this button the whole time my animation plays. If I wanted the button only to show at the beginning, I could just leave it for 1 frame like any other animation. However long you want the art to be seen, you need to hold it with frames. So label your layers. This is my button layer, my play button layer. So I'll actually call it play button layer. And we're good so far. Now, like any other symbol, if we want to go into the edit mode, we have to double click on the art. And we're in the edit mode now. Notice the difference in the timeline of the button symbol. It's no longer a regular looking timeline with just a lot of frames. It says up, over, down, and hit. The up state is what your button looks like generally all the time. The over state is what your button looks like when your mouse moves over it. So I'm just going to insert a keyframe to keep the same look, but you don't have to do that. Let's say I want to change the background. So what will happen is I select the background and let me give it a let's go black. Okay, so the over state will stay with a red button, or the up state has a red button, the over state turns black. You really don't have to do anything for down, but you do have to put something for hit. Again, you can put any look you want in hit because you're never going to see hit. Hit is simply identifying the area that is actionable for your button. So let's look at what the button is like now, only with an up and an over state. So we'll command return. Okay, that is my up state, what I see now. That's my over state when my mouse rolls over. Okay, you want something to change. Whether you move the button to a different position when the mouse moves over, change a color, or you could even change the artwork completely. Let's say in the over state, we want something totally different. Let's just go with a big oval. So up, over, up, over, up, over. Okay, now, very important though, that the hit state is only what you want to be actionable. So If I want to keep that whole oval space actionable, I could just put a keyframe in to the hit state, leaving down just regular, and watch what happens. As I approach that play button, look at that. I'm not even at the play button and it becomes actionable because I'm going to where that oval shape is, which is identified in the hit area. If you want a very defined actionable area, such as the look of the button, you want to be sure that I'm going to just copy this keyframe and I'm going to paste it here. Not so simple. Copy frame. Oh, let's delete this. We'll paste it right on top. Okay, so we have our up, we have our over, and we have our hit. Now, when I move the mouse towards the button, it doesn't become actionable till I actually touch the button. And of course, I'm clicking, nothing's happening because we haven't made anything happen yet. All right, so next, let's go back to scene 1. Again, to edit your button, double click to get into the button timeline. To go back to the regular scene, go to scene 1. We have a play button layer. Let's make a new layer, and this will be an animation that we are having the button control. So we'll just keep it simple to start. I'm just going to make myself a shape. I'm using a plain old shape tween, so I'm going to have a last keyframe as well. First keyframe, last keyframe, and I will just move it across, and I'll put a shape tween in. So let's watch what we have now. Okay, so we have an animation playing on its own, and we have a button that is ready to work, but it is not set yet. So the first thing we want to do is stop the animation from starting without clicking the button. So on the animation keyframe, the first keyframe, I've just clicked on it. I'm going into actions. Now, if you don't see the actions panel, you can go into window and find actions. And all I'm going to do is type stop, open parenthesis, close parenthesis. That's it. Let's test it now. Command return. Notice that animation did not automatically start now. But clicking on that play button still does nothing because we have not set the button up. So go back to your timeline and click directly on the artwork for your button. And now we're going to go back to actions. And we're going to use what are called code snippets. So I'm going to click right here. In the CS5 version, you will actually see the word code snippets in the window. In C, it's the symbol. And we're working with ActionScript, and it's a timeline navigation. And we want that button to be clicked and go to a specific frame to play. So I'm going to double click, and it automatically sent all the code with its instructions into the actions panel. So the light gray or dark gray is all simply explanation and instruction. The code is these 4 lines. You never want to tamper with the spacing, the capital versus lowercase, punctuation. You don't want to tamper with any of the code or it will stop working. The only thing you want to do, if necessary, is to change the button name to your button name. But because when I clicked on my button originally and went up to properties, I named it, it's automatically put that code into the frame for you. So the next thing you need to do is customize what frame this button is going to go to and play. So if you've read your instructions here, it says replace the number 5 in the code below with the frame number you want to play. So we have our button name here, and it should have gone automatically if you named your button. This code is what is telling the button what to do. Do not get rid of these brackets, you need them. And go to and play, and we want it to go to and play frame 1. So I'm just putting 1 here. And now let's test. Command return. Again, the animation did not automatically start because we put a stop code, and the button is actionable, and I click on it and look at that. It controlled the animation. So if I look back at my timeline now, I have 3 layers. I have the play button layer, the animation layer, and the action for the button automatically went to its own layer, and it automatically labeled it actions. One last time, Command return. There's a rollover. Nothing plays automatic. I have to click on the button for it to occur. And that is your play button.